Pour one out for the Agent Short Fuse fans out there. So not too long ago, we got our first trailer for the upcoming Dreamworks film, The Bad Guys 2. And as someone who had a mild interest in the film's predecessor, I responded to it in a positive, albeit casual manner.
The age of Netflix holiday specials has ended! No more subpar quality! Follow me, and you will watch the perfect Bad Guys sequel! Go Banner, go home!
With us getting our first look at the film, I thought I'd review the trailer, give my thoughts on specific plot points, share a couple predictions, and speculate if this film will be a critical and financial success. We got a lot of ground to cover with this 2-minute trailer of all things, so let's get to work. You're watching the LionDog Show, and I'm discussing the Bad Guys 2 trailer. To begin, the trailer is absolutely remarkable, if only for doing one thing, not completely spoiling the entire film, something many trailers do nowadays, even the first Bad Guys trailers. Look, the original film became an instant favorite of mine after that first trailer, but it gives away so many plot points to a plot that is already easy to figure out. Twist villain, third act breakup, secret sixth ranger. And don't even get me started on them showing webs with Diane and her Crimson Paw attire in the second trailer. With the Bad Guys 2 trailer, on the other hand, it showcases the main character's current situations, a broad conflict, brief looks at action set pieces, and a few of the side characters. Outside of that, the plot could be anything, and that's what excites me the most about this film. While the first film was an amazing introduction to the franchise, the story could have been more creative. With the sequel, it feels like we're out of the tutorial section and free to explore more unique plot lines. That's not to say this trailer is perfect. If I had to nitpick, I didn't laugh even once throughout the trailer, not even at the animator's poorly disguised fetish. I'm not too concerned, as I didn't laugh at any of the first movie's trailers, yet I did laugh throughout the movie itself. Second, did they really have to use the song Bad Guy again? Could they not have chosen a different song like Venus by Bananarama, Man I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain, or any other feisty female-oriented song to fit the introduction of the bad girls? That song choice isn't exactly combating the arguments about this film being too similar to the first that I'll discuss later. Outside of those blemishes, this trailer is just what I wanted from a Bad Guys 2 trailer. Not too little, not too much, just right. Okay, now let's discuss the specifics of the trailer. Right off the bat, we gotta discuss the animation. I cannot properly put into words how surreal yet delightful it felt watching new footage of these characters that doesn't look like a licensed game for the Wii. With Dreamworks now outsourcing their animation to different studios, I was concerned that there would be an obvious contrast between films, but these animators got the action and character movement of the original film down perfectly. The animation looks to be just as outstanding as its predecessor, but will its story follow suit? From what this trailer details, we definitely have an intriguing premise on our hands. Up to 5 years after the original, I was way off about my theory about it taking place right after the team gets out of prison. It appears the bad guys aren't doing so hot, with Wolf unable to land a job until they get roped into an international heist by the up-and-coming bad girls. So far, I like how they're exploring how going good hasn't been easy for them since they're no longer living a life of luxury and not everyone is believing their rehabilitation. I've heard some people express their concerns for how them going back to crime feels like a retread of the first film, and I'm sorry to those people, but that's a you problem. A retread would be them learning that it's more fulfilling to be good. For a third time, the trailer clearly shows that the bad guys are both in desperate need of money and being held captive by the bad girls. This isn't them forgetting the lessons of the first film, this is them having no choice but to return to a life of crime. Now, them being back in their old environment could lead to the group possibly relapsing, which could be an interesting internal conflict throughout the course of the film. Another concern I've heard is that the bad girls are forced additions for the sake of female empowerment. To those people I say, read the books. The team is a loose adaptation of the International League of Heroes, an all-female team of secret agents from the Bad Guys graphic novels. This isn't a diversity move, it's simply them adapting the source material. If anything, this is lessening the supposed empowerment by villainizing them. Besides, this series has proven itself with female characters through Diane, but that's a potential video for another day. For now, let's discuss the bad girls in more detail. And you know what? After having a month or so to adjust to their changes, I can say that I love all three of them. Granted, the design changes were a hard pill to swallow, especially one that I'll discuss more in a moment, as I figured that they didn't need them. With the bad guys' goofy designs in the books, it made sense to give them cooler designs to better fit the Ocean's 11 feel of the film. But with the League, I thought that their designs looked cool as is. I figured that they just needed to put them in the film's art style and call it a day. But I think they made the right choice for the most part by reimagining the characters. Now, I won't act like I'm not even slightly disappointed that they're criminals rather than secret agents like in the books, and I'll admit that part of this disappointment stems from my pie-in-the-sky theorizing about how the films could adapt them into a team of tokusatsu heroes in a similar vein to how the bad guys evoke Loop in the third. But I guess that Power Rangers is just too mainstream of an inspiration for these filmmakers. Outside of that, I'm also bummed that we won't be seeing the League's backstory on the big screen, as it's one of my favorite moments from the books. We might still see a variation of it, but it will be missing the power of them choosing to do good despite the individual members' circumstances. One consolation for the girls being villains is that it opens the door for the bad guys to possibly step into the role that Diane served in the original film as the moral compass to another group of thieves. The change also remedies the source material's major inconsistency in its genre. Like, the first two books are heist missions, but the rest following those were in whatever action-adventure genre that Aaron Blabey felt like writing that day. Meanwhile, the switch to the bad girls keeps the film squarely in the heist genre, even if spy thrillers are essentially the heist movie's best friend who reminds the teacher to retrieve yesterday's homework. One last thing about the bad girls as a whole is that I find it ironic how they're somehow more international than the International League of Heroes. Like, I look at these characters and I can totally buy all of them being American, but with the bad girls, their species alone show a more diverse flair, and no character shows that better than Pigtail. She's still my favorite of the three, helped by the fact that Hogwild is my second favorite League member, and they adapted her pretty well so far, even down to her being the mechanic of the team. However, I still find it funny how their names sound like they were swapped. While I was unsure about her being a boar, I now think that it gives much needed detail to her standard pig design from the books, and sets her apart as a tough villain. One slight deviation that does disappoint me is her change from Southern American to Bulgarian. While it is a unique decision, as there aren't many Slavic characters in animation, once again, my lofty expectations of her having a similar voice to Rogue from the X-Men make it a change that I will just have to learn to accept. As for her personality, she looks to be the kindest of the group, shown by her excitement to meet the bad guys that matches her being head over heels for them in the books. But if that's her in the wrestling scene, she might also be a force to be reckoned with. I also hope that's not just a quick disguise. I love the dichotomy of a smart machinery girl also being big into wrestling. Going over to Doom, I have nothing to say on her design. She's a Raven in the books, she's a Raven in the films. They removed her bang, but that's about it. The real alterations are in her personality. While I was somewhat bugged by her personality shift at first, I'm now convinced that her being playful rather than an emo might make Doom more unique in a post-Jenna Ortega world. I did like the thought of her possibly being a hippie, as that fits with her book counterpart's nonconformist traits while fitting with the film counterpart's older age to match Mr. Snake. However, with the film's description referring to her as a master of deception, I doubt that this trait of hers is real. Lastly, we got the lady who provoked a college essay out of me back in November, Kitty Kat. Listen, she has a good design. If she was a completely new character, I would love her, but she isn't. She's Agent Kitty Kat, and as I've stated in that community post, I fail to see why another Dreamworks Snow Leopard villain is more compelling than Aurora Nora Zorro Cat. Now, if the crew or maybe her voice actress believed that a tough and sassy black cat with an afro bordered on stereotyping, I understand, but I wish that they at least got creative with the design, like with what Aaron Blabey did with her book design. Looking past her design, I like how intimidating she is. The filmmakers want her to be Mr. Wolf 2.0, and she definitely has that ambition and ability to do far worse than Wolf ever could. However, like with all of the three girls, we'll just have to wait and see if she can live up to the original 5. Moving over to smaller details I noticed throughout the trailer, I want to bring attention to that joke about Mr. Piranha looking like a mango. It has nothing to do with the plot, but I thought it was a neat nod to the running gag online of people comparing him to one. I could see this becoming Movie Piranha's version of the sardine running gag from the books. Anything that puts less attention on his farts is a win in my book. Leave that to Harley Quinn. Next up, we have the prologue heist. I find the origin of the team's iconic car cool. I never once considered where they got the car until I watched the trailer, yet it's also kind of unnecessary since the car is no longer with us, sadly. I hope that outside of that, this opening heist serves a purpose to the plot and isn't just an excuse to start the film off with a bang. Speaking of the bad guys' transportation, it looks like they're trading out their sleek, shiny car for a junky SUV. They better explain what happened to the car from the mid-credits scene, because if they still had that car and were strapped for money, Mr. Wolf could have just made a killing working for DoorDash. Send me your cutest delivery boy! Outside of the SUV, they're also operating a food truck. Now, this could be one of two things. First, this could be what the group does for a living. It's not much, but it's honest. Second, and far more likely, this could be the getaway car for them once the catalyst for the plot happens, which seems to be during the wrestling tournament. Based on the evidence of the shot with Chief Luggins, where the truck is in the background next to wrestling merchandise, and the shot of Shark and Piranha shooting condiments while still in their wrestling uniforms. Meaning that Shark and Piranha are likely tag team wrestlers for a living, which I love. You may think they're the goofballs of the team, but who's keeping the lights on, huh? Based on the trailer, I'm gonna guess that the bad guys are attending the wrestling match as just another night for Shark and Piranha to provide for the team, only for Doom to woo Snake and Pigtail to wipe the floor with the Fin Bros. After that, following some heist shenanigans, the bad guys are stuck holding the bag and the bad girls rope them into a car chase and take them to meet Kitty. Okay, I believe that's everything from the trailer that caught my eye, and since I've started to dip my toes into predictions with that last observation, let's discuss plot speculations. I'll be dividing these theories into 4 categories. Ones that are definitely happening, ones that are most likely happening, ones that could possibly happen, and one that is extremely unlikely, but I don't care, I want to discuss it anyway. Kicking off the definitely happening category is that Marmalade is the one who hired the bad girls. While this might seem like a far out prediction, it makes a ton of sense. If you look at the cast for the film, you'll see that Richard Ayoade is part of the cast, and unless he's providing the voice for his sister Lady Marmalade, Rupert will most likely be in the film. Since they put his voice actor in the list front and center, I doubt that this will be a meaningless cameo. Then again,
all I see is a broken promise.
You and me both, pal. Also, considering Marmalade's extensive role in the book series, more on the specifics later, this isn't too surprising, despite Dreamworks not doing reoccurring villains all that often, if at all. With what both the bad guys and Diane did to him in the original film, I wouldn't put it past him to be seeking some sort of revenge. Also, given how the world believes him to be the Crimson Paw and how manipulative he is, I could totally see him using his mistaken identity as leverage into the criminal underworld, leading him to hire the bad girls to lure the bad guys out for whatever plot he's concocting. If that's the case, that could be the ultimate power play, using the mess that your enemies left you in to your advantage to land them in a bigger mess. Certain prediction number 2, Diane will be exposed as the Crimson Paw by the end of the film. Going back to my previous prediction about Marmalade, it wouldn't be too surprising to see Diane's secret being in jeopardy with him out there. The secret getting out also makes sense when you consider that she was willing to confess to clear the bad guys' name. It would also address the unintentional double standard of the bad guys needing to go to prison to start clean, yet Diane's definition of starting clean is obtaining a position of power. Look, I love you, Diane, but that's kinda messed up. There's also the evidence of her putting her identity at risk with her fighting the bad girls at the launch site in her civilian uniform while this whole event is being televised. Fluffit is bound to catch that on tape. If this plot point is the case, I could see it being the perfect cliffhanger fit for the second film in a presumed trilogy. Third plot point that will for sure be in there is the bad guys and girls will merge. Dude, it's just like Survivor. In all seriousness, this event just makes a lot of sense considering the franchise's themes of redemption and found family. It would be hypocritical of the group to deny that to the girls. It also helps that this prediction has merits in the books. Maybe they'll even use the combined team's name of Shadow Squad G. You can practically see the logo! The only thing I could see disrupting this plot point is them saving the bad girls as redemption for movie 3, which could happen if they're playing loose with the source material. And my final 99.9% confident prediction is that Wolf and Diane will be a couple by the end of the movie. This should honestly be in its own tier of prediction, as it's been basically confirmed in an interview that their chemistry is insane. It also just feels right to pay off their blossoming relationship from the first film. As long as it's not an aggressively drawn out will they won't they subplot, I'm good. They'll probably do that with Nick and Judy in Zootopia 2 anyway. Sliding into the very likely predictions, we got Diane being a former member of the Bad Girls. Since Diane's book counterpart Agent Fox led the League of Heroes, it wouldn't be too surprising that she has some sort of connection with them. Now, I feel two ways on this idea. On the positive end, if Diane going good is what caused the rift between her and the rest of the team, that would create an excellent parallel between her and Wolf. It could even be seen as a look at what if Wolf and his friends never mended their friendship. On the flip side, this also comes off as retconning, since there was nothing alluding to this happening in the original film. Sure, Diane says how she knows how it feels leaving everything behind when going good, which could include former allies, but if that were the case, wouldn't she mention that during their tender heart-to-heart moment where Diane is trying to empathize with Mr. Wolf? If she had really been in Wolf's position, would she really respond to him like this? I just lost all my friends and I've never felt more alone. You wanna hear a funny story about how I almost committed a crime? One way that this idea could work is by having Diane ditch the team before going good. Maybe because she believed that they were holding her back. It would fit with her ego throughout the first film. Speaking of the bad girls, we got Feathery Venom being a complete scam for both parties involved. Considering how they lay on the romance far far too thick, it wouldn't surprise me to see the filmmakers pull the rug out from under us with it. Doom is a master of deception, and Snake isn't a stranger to pretending to be close with someone he hates, so it seems likely that both are using this relationship just to get close to the other side. Maybe they will genuinely fall in love over the course of the film, but I doubt that. If the filmmakers know about the piranha mango joke, they would know that the fans would never forgive them if they made both Wolf and Snake straight. Wrapping up my second category of theories, we have my most out there yet still possible theory. Marmalade will be revealed to be an alien. Okay, before you click off this video right now, hear me out on this. I got the search history to back this. Of course, the most obvious piece of evidence is Marmalade being revealed to be one at the end of book 5. But that isn't enough, isn't it? After all, the How to Train Your Dragon films didn't follow their books to a T. Would Dreamworks really adapt this ridiculous of a twist purely because it was in the source material? Actually, yes. Marmalade being revealed to be an alien was planned for the first movie, but it was cut due to it not fitting the plot. However, the crew did express interest in using the concept for a future film. Well, that future film is here. Now, films do go through a ton of changes, yet despite this, there are details in the promotional material that point to this idea. Based on the poster, the pyramids of ancient Egypt will play some sort of role in this film. Who are often rumored to have built them? Aliens. Also, a rocket seems to be playing a major role in the plot. Where do rocket ships usually go? Outer space. And who live in outer space? Aliens. It's definitely possible that everyone's least favorite prince of frowny face emoticon will be entering the Dreamworks canon. Is this a good thing? I mean, well, you see, well, hear me out on the, well, it could be. The biggest thing going against this decision is just how far-fetched the concept is. If the audience felt that the meteorite being a powerful mind control device was too much, how would they react to the villain from the first film being an alien, let alone an alien with butts for hands? Also, if he was willing to give away his plan to the guys in the van, wouldn't he just casually slip in the fact that he's an alien? The only way to make this outrageous idea work for me at the moment is by making the revelation involuntary. One possible option is having Marmalade somehow get infected with the meteorite substance, which mutates him, a la Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Another option is revealing that he's always been an alien that resembles the guinea pig who's been keeping this a secret, since aliens are seen as far scarier than any of the bad guys' species. The problem is that in a similar vein to the Inhumans from Marvel, too much exposure to the meteor triggers his species' metamorphosis into their design from the books. Hopefully without the butts for hands. This would actually explain Marmalade's weird radiation suit that he wears throughout the third act. That doesn't seem to serve a purpose to his plot if Snake can control the guinea pigs without wearing it. It would also explain him suddenly committing his crime, since he seems to be on the up and up with his charity work. It's possible that the meteor crash landing might have been how he discovered his alien heritage. And since the world sees aliens as a foolish conspiracy theory at best and heartless Earth conquerors at worst, he robs his own charity as a way to get back at the world that hates him despite him doing nothing but help it. Giving him an internal conflict of wanting to hide being an alien while also being unable to resist the meteorite could make him a more compelling villain than just another greedy narcissist like how he originally was. Alongside this, it could add an interesting layer to the fact that Marmalade knows Diane's secret. If Diane somehow knows about him being an alien, it could create an interesting tension between the two where you're just munching on your popcorn waiting for one of them to accidentally send a DM to the wrong Discord user. To top it all off, him being labeled as an outcast by the world and being brought to his lowest low could be a good foundation for a potential redemption arc in movie 3, delving into the question of what villains truly deserve to be redeemed. Just please do not give him butts for hands. It is bad enough convincing people that this film is amazing with the farting fish alone. Moving into the theories that have little to no backing but are still in the realm of possibility, we have the Piranha Tail pairing. Now, I've mentioned once or twice how I dislike Book Piranha, yet one concept of his that I enjoyed was the brief team-up and implied romance between him and Agent Hogwild. It had a charming, unlikely romance feel to it that could be even better with a piranha that's actually likable. They are wrestling each other in the trailers, so that could be something that draws them together. Also, I looked it up, and Pigtail's voice actress Maria Barkalova has singing experience. Just saying! Next up, we got the possibility of the bad girls actually being the League of Heroes undercover to lure Marmalade out of hiding, with the girls dropping hints for the bad guys to follow and help them stop him without making it look too obvious. If this is real, it would be a real who do you think put that one push pop in the fridge moment. Wow, if I had a nickel for every time I referenced the who do you think put that one push pop in the fridge moment in a YouTube video, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that happened twice. Finally, my last theory for bad guys too, Marmalade goes to Culver's. I can dream, can't I? Okay, I've covered everything about this film that I could imagine, but before I let you out of my bad guys dungeon and return you to your families, I wanted to discuss this film's potential performance. Now, if you couldn't tell, I love this franchise, and I want it to succeed critically, but it can only continue to do so if it also succeeds financially. Will this film be a financial success? At this point, it's hard to know for sure. One feather in this movie's cap is that they've already released the first trailer in November for a film that is set for the following August. This gives me hope for the film, as it's been feeling lately like Dreamworks almost shadow drops their movies by releasing the first trailer only a couple months before release. So having this first trailer out there in the world for people to find online or watch before other movies could do wonders for garnering interest. Another point in this film's favor is the exposure and reputation of the original bad guys in the post-theatrical market. Since the film left theaters, it's been available on multiple streaming services and available to purchase or rent on digital storefronts, broadening its exposure to those who might not have been interested enough to plan a trip to watch it. With the mostly positive reception from general audiences, there's a chance that Bad Guys 2 can translate this into higher box office earnings, akin to how Across the Spider-Verse made more money than its predecessor thanks to Into the Spider-Verse's acclaim and accessibility after the theatrical market. While both of these points make this film's success sound like an open and shut case, there is one caveat to this film's performance: its release date. Bad Guys 2 is set to release on August 1st. You can't do that! It's Digimon Day! Right off the bat, releasing a family film that late into the summer is a great way to cut off any momentum that this film could develop through word of mouth. Second, it's got serious competition in the forms of Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps. And yes, I know superhero movies are in less demand than they were in the 2010s, but those are still huge IPs when compared to the bad guys. Especially with the audience's response to the Superman trailer making it look like this year's Barbie. Would people really choose a goofy heist parody over Superman? Overall, I would say that this film could survive, but I'm not sure if it can thrive. It ultimately depends on how good the film is. Wow, I'm amazed that I'm on the 14th page of this script, and I'm only just now discussing whether or not this film will be good. But I'm going to confidently say that this film will be, at the very least, a worthy successor to the original. The reason Kung Fu Panda 4 disappointed me was that it felt like the crew who made it, even if they loved the franchise, didn't understand what made the first 3 movies work. But the fact that Pierre Perifel is returning to direct the film alongside the original film's head of character animation, JP Sands, gives me faith that the people in charge get this franchise. As long as they continue the trajectory of the previous film with its excellent characters, fun action, and sharp story, I have no doubt that this film will be, at the very least, good. This might sound cheesy and pathetic, but the first Bad Guys movie means a lot to me. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but it had heart, it had passion, and it had the potential to be something special. I walked out of that first film feeling as though I just watched the start of the next Kung Fu Panda or How to Train Your Dragon. It's hard to tell how a film turns out with the way executives tend to meddle with development, but I trust this crew not to squander this chance to create a cherished animated franchise. Not every movie gets a sequel. Make the most of it, Dreamworks. Okay, before anyone asks, I will not be making a video on the following trailers. I'm trying to go into this film as blind as possible. Just watch Chili Chivy, I'm sure he'll cover them. You've been watching The LionDog Show. Have a great day, and stick around for more.